And we are back once again. It is the 7th race of the Highline Racing League HighPoint Premier Series season. It's the Bearcat Motorsports Grand Prix from Mid-Ohio, and we are ready to get back at it in style. Brad Kress leading the way thus far in the practice charts with 5 minutes and 41 seconds. Now it's coming down to 5.5 minutes remaining on the timing charts. We've got just a bit of time before we get to the action here, and we are glad to be here coming off our stream of the Iora Cup Series at Nashville. And it is great to be back watching as Brad Kress leads the way right now in practice. Winstead in second, and Adam Bozzi's in second position, and now he's been dropped down to third. Winstead taking that position by force, and he's got it back in style, the driver of the 10 machine we are watching right now. And how about we watch the driver of the 21 machine, Kendall Kerr, coming off of a great stretch of races. A little bit better than Scott Wheeler last time by at Bristol, getting a major cut into the points lead. And Kendall Kerr is riding with an awful lot of momentum here. Whether or not he's able to use it, that is up to him. We'll see whether or not he's able to do so. It takes a lot with the drivers that we have here. It's going to be a 1-hour timed event here in a road course setting, so it's going to be different from the ovals we usually do. And like the last oval, or rather, like the last road course, which was Sonoma, where Roberto Ramirez won in dominating fashion, we will be using the timed format. 60 minutes of action to settle the score here tonight in Mid-Ohio. Going to be a great night of action nonetheless, as Kendall Kerr right now 9th on the charts, and Scott Wheeler bouncing back from his worst race of the season. And don't let that stat line fool you. That was still a top 10 finish. He's in 4th on the charts right now. And Wheeler in his Ford Mustang, just behind Roberto Ramirez on the timing and scoring charts. Looking great right now. The driver, the 97, is up front in the practice. And of course, a lot of time to get even quicker. We will have qualifying. We will, of course, have the race. As it stands, Roberto Ramirez in the 3rd position. The JBL 42 for the first time this season is looking to get another road course victory. Seems to be dominating the road courses in this series. Takes the victory by force in Sonoma. Looking to do that just one more time with the 7th race of the season at a road course. And if he gets a 2nd win on the season, going to have a fringe outside shot perhaps at the championship to keep the momentum that he's had rolling. The start of the season, not too lucky for Ramirez. He was 3rd at Auto Club on the final restart and wrecked under yellow. And that's one of the highlight moments, unfortunately, low light moments to be exact. And we saw that the driver of the 42 machine also had a very good run the week after at Gateway, not able to capitalize on it, multiple incidents. But this time, and now in the last few weeks especially, it looks like Ramirez is on to a better swing of things, and he's using it to his advantage. Ramirez right now 3rd on the charts is Chad Winstead just in front. And Chad Winstead, we haven't talked about him all too much already. Of course, we were focusing on him for just a moment, but looking for his first win on the season. And Winstead's been especially close. Strategy has not played his way every time around. And that's just a matter of fact when it comes to these races. You have to have the perfect strategy to even have a chance. Winstead, unfortunately, not able to capitalize on it just yet, but still a very quick, very talented driver who's looking forward to his first win of the season. If he's able to do just that, it will be a breakthrough victory for the driver of the 10. How about Adam Bozzi right now? He is in the 6th position in the 27 machine, and he's half a second back on Brad Kress's best time. The top of the charts is Brad Kress, and in the 6th position, it is Adam Bozzi. A very close gap between the top 6 drivers, half a second the difference. Scott Zellner, a 10th back on Bozzi in the 7th spot as we speak. And he's looking to get one more. He's got his 10th career victory and his first of the season just a few weeks ago. And if he gets another one, gonna put him into the record books far and away as the most successful driver in this series' history. Looking for 11 victories in total, a stat line unmatched by any other driver, and that's by a very wide margin. 1 minute and 21 seconds remain on the charts before we get back to the action here tonight in Mid-Ohio, the 2nd stream of the night, but of course, the Highline Racing League, their first of this night. And only a minute before we get to qualifying to see who can get that coveted pole position. Going to take a lot from every one of these drivers. A lot of work to keep the power down, time in, time out. As we can see, Brad Kress now off of the racetrack. And Kress looks to be top seed in this practice. We'll see whether or not he's got what it takes to hold on with just about 46 seconds remaining. Certainly not going to be able to get another lap in, but nonetheless, looking for just a bit more out of the car. Going to get a few more seconds of practice before we get back to the action here in Mid-Ohio. 19 car field as it stands. Still a lot of time for drivers to register. We'll see whether or not more drivers choose to register. And if that is not the case, we'll get to the action shortly. Brad Kress, top of the charts in practice. 15 seconds left. We'll see whether or not anyone has what it takes to beat him. As it stands, does not look like that will be the case. The driver of the 29 machine will be top of the charts in practice. And he's leading the way by 1/10 of a second. And that's going to be 1/10, 100th, 1,000th, .111 over Chad Winstead for the driver of Brad Kress. We are getting ready to get to the action. Practice is over. Let's go into qualifying and see who's got what it takes to get that pole position here at Mid-Ohio. It's going to be 10 minutes of opportunity for anyone to get that pole position. We'll see who has what it takes overall. And as it stands, a lot of drivers heading on to the racetrack. Looks like Kenny Brooks is on. Chad Winstead is on as well. Let's watch and see a multitude of drivers on their way. Chad Winstead is one of them right now in the 10 machine. A very, very different paint scheme on a set of paint, much different from what we've seen beforehand. The net, or rather the carbon neutral Castrol number 10 machine of Winstead has a much different look coming into this one. And the glow of that 10 machine can be seen throughout the racetrack. We'll see whether or not he's got what it takes to keep it up front. Winstead looking good though thus far. Coming to his first lap of the session. You're going to have 2 chances in 10 minutes to get it done. Down to the inside line. And how about we go throughout the field? Clint Spillman on his way in the 4 machine right now, and so is Jacob Halm. Kendall Kerr coming through the same section of track in just a moment's time as Terry Brooks. He's on the track as well. Alan Kuhnman in the Columbia 8 machine had a great race last week as well at Bristol, just not able to capitalize late. And the teamwork he had with Kendall Kerr, a very close battle between the top 2 teammates. Kuhnman was not on the winning end of said battle. Scott Wheeler Jr. on the racetrack as well. Wheeler making his round, and he is already on to his first lap of the day. Braking marker, he's going to use it, and a great first turn. How about we ride on board with the driver currently leading the championship standings? And that's a bobble, and he's going to lose a lap on that note. First lap down for the driver of the 97. Going to have to take it easy on the way around the next time by. Alan Kuhnman, though, on his way in the same section where Wheeler lost it. Let's see what he's got. Looks like he's going to almost get on the grass, but he's on his way. How about we ride on board with Alan Kuhnman? Rear view camera, now the nose camera. Getting all the way up there on the curbs. And when you're driving at the limit, you got to use every single apex to your advantage. And that's what a driver like Alan Kuhnman can do successfully. He's riding every single limit to the max. You can see how close he was to the cones there, entering. And now he's made his way through onto a miniature section of S's, akin in some sort of way to Circuit of the Americas. With much more banking. Using the road course knowledge he has from Sonoma, another very highly banked road course, to successfully navigate through. Kuhnman on his way with 7 minutes remaining in practice. Now in qualifying. Scott Wheeler, his first lap in validated. And he's back on his way. It looks like he went down pit road. Kenny Brooks having a lot of trouble keeping that car together. Kendall Kerr, nonetheless, moving through. It looks like he's not onto his first lap. Terry Brooks, first man down. He's got his lap over. Chad Winstead going to go to the top of the charts by over a second. And he's staying there. Dylan Petit, 1 minute 29 flat. Nothing remaining. Petit's going to put it in 4th. Now it's going to be Kuhnman in 4th. Kenny Brooks 5th. Scott Zellner is in 3rd, and Brad Kress runner-up right now by a 2nd. Winstead put up a monster lap, And now the deficit is half a second, but he still got it. And let's watch and see what he does differently. Using a lot less steering there, it's going to be a line of least resistance for Winstead through that straightaway segment. Backing it down, and you can hear every single shift of the gear. And using the optimal timing, not eating the curves like we saw with Kunman. Kunman 6th on the charts right now. He's still doing very well, Winstead is. As he fights through every single turn, navigating them with ease. Backing it down to the inside there, he's going to eat the curb. Because here we got an outside curve that can be used to the advantage of every driver. And every braking marker can be used as well. You can see just a bit of a lift there for Winstead. As he's coming around for what will be his final few turns of the final lap. Timing and scoring will count for him. And out of the final turn, Winstead. Terry Brooks tried to beat him. He can't defeat him. Winstead's got a 6/10 of a second advantage over the remainder of the field right now. Brad Kress coming along as well. This is the battle for the pole position. Coming to the stripe now. Kress has made it, and he will not usurp Chad Winstead. Second on the charts by 75 thousandths of a second. Roberto Ramirez, it's time for him to show what he's got. Best lap on the record books right now. It's a 1 minute 27.157. Alan Kunman has made his way up to 5th. And it looks like his qualifying run is over according to timing and scoring. All she wrote for Kunman. Best he can get is the top 5 finish. But it's still not set in stone. Adabazi's going to set it up to 4th, and that eliminates Kunman from the top 5. And as it stands, Garrett Sidnor is in 8th. And Crunchyroll number 50 machine, Jason Harris rounds out the top 10. Looking for just a bit more this time by in the Columbia number 7 machine, the 7 and 8, both sponsored by Columbia. And Harris is going to keep it in the 8th spot, it appears. Garrett Sidnor 9th, Kenny Brooks now into 12th. As Terry Brooks is in 3rd, Adam Bozzi still going through for his 2nd and final lap. Soon we're going to see, as it looks like now, we're going to see Scott Wheeler landed in 4th on his 1 and only lap. That will count. Detrimental for Wheeler to only have 1 lap counted, because we still have a multiple drivers who are not going to have their laps counted. Looks like Caleb Morrissey's lap will not count. Kendall Kerr is on his 2nd lap. Morrissey's 1st lap did not count, but Kerr is still on his way. Looking for just a bit more this time by Morrissey. Same scenario. It looks like he's going to back it down just a bit there in the channel lock number 6 machine, as Kendall Kerr in the 21 is fighting as hard as ever. Winstead still top of the charts as Kendall Kerr gets it real squirrely there, but he keeps it together. Roberto Ramirez is on his 1st lap. How about we ride on board from a different perspective and see how it is inside the car number 42. An Ally is still on the nameplate tonight, but it's not an Ally-sponsored car. It's JBL. And unlike the usual Allies colors, we see a much different, much more red palette of colors than the drivers of the 42 machines are. Toyota Camry to be exact. And looking for yet another nice performance at a road course. Winning, dominating fashion last time by, but it looks like his rival from that race, Brad Kress, 2nd on the charts in qualifying to a different driver. We'll see whether or not Kress has what it takes to keep up this time. 3rd gear, you can see that every single shift of the gears matters. And when you get so experienced with shifting gears, it becomes sort of like a rev matching. And you know, when the optimal time is to shift the gear, you can get that peak performance out of the car for less. Ramirez, a lot of correction, not a lot of overcorrection, as you can see. Well versed in keeping a car straight on our road course, especially with as many turns and as many amounts of banking as we have here. His 1st lap going well thus far. Kendall Kerr looks like his lap will not count once again. Caleb Morrissey is going to put it into 14th as Ramirez, coming around for the first time, will be able to put it into 6th. He still has 1 lap left for the final driver, still going around and qualifying, with the exception of Clint Spillman, who appears to be on his way for his 1st lap. 1 final chance to get a good lap in. Time is not a factor. He's going to have just enough time to get one through. The pace he's going, he still has an advantage by just about 25 seconds. And he's dialing it in. 3rd gear, 4th gear. You can see he's not going to hug the cones at all, just touches it slightly. fifth gear, all the way up to 9,600 revs a minute. Backs it down in style. You can see the tachometer, the digital tach here in these NASCAR Next-Gen cars being used to the advantage of every driver. You can see exactly where you are in shifting. And with that information, you can get some really good times out of it. A lot less bobbling in this run, it appears, for Ramirez, and that might be the difference between 6th and pole position for the driver of the 42. He's doing really good so far. According to timing scoring, he's a second and a half up on his best lap. Coming through the final section now. Feathering the throttle just a bit, you can hear it as he's using the wheel, and it's as much about controlling the car with the pedals as it is about controlling the car with the wheel. Second, third, now, just getting up to fourth gear, lap over, Roberto Ramirez, pole position, and he's gonna take it over Chad Winstead by 68 thousandths of a second. And you watch it on board, that was a masterclass in driving through Mid-Ohio. And he's setting the tone early. 9 seconds left, walk off lap for Ramirez. Kendall Kerr, not going to have a time counted. Few drivers still on pit row, but a walk off for Ramirez. That's going to send it into the first race, or rather, the only race of the night. No heat races, no consolation. This is how it goes from here. 1 hour to settle the score here in Mid-Ohio. And Ramirez, not the fastest driver in the practice, but he got it done barely in qualifying, and that's when it matters. Getting a great start is where you can get the time to pull away an estimated 42 laps tonight. Racing in the middle of Ohio, as stated in the name. The Mid-Ohio sports car course used for sports cars, as stated in the name. But this time, it's being used for stock cars. And Roberto Ramirez, the fastest of which at this track. Ramirez setting the lap time of 1 minute 27 and 0.89, or rather 0.089, as the pole position lap over Chad Winstead's 127.157. Then Brad Kress with 127.232, and Adam Bozzi's 127.634. Then Terry Brooks, Scott Wheeler Jr., 5th and 6th, and the 4th row is Scott Zellner and Alan Goodman. Then followed by Dylan Petit and Jason Harris, rounding out the top 10. Harris is, and further on back, we have the driver of Garrett Sidnor in the 15, Clint Spillman in the 4. Then we got the driver in the 13th position of James McKee, Jacob Hom 14th, Dylan Labonte 15th, Caleb Morrissey in 16th, and Kenny Brooks in 17th, with Dalton Beer in the 18th position. And Kendall Kerr, riding shotgun on iRacing, is in 19th position. His laps were invalidated. Roberto Ramirez is going to be leading the field with the pace car now. We're closing the starting grid up. It's time to focus on the racing. 60 minutes of flag-to-flag action here in Mid-Ohio. The Mid-Ohio sports car course, home to some great racing. Time to see just a bit more of it live in action. It's the drivers of the Highline Racing League getting ready to put on a show. Pace car already in, and the green flag is out, led by Roberto Ramirez. Here we go from Mid-Ohio. Let's get racing. 60 laps of action. We're on, led now by Winstead. Chad Winstead gets a monster start there, and the remainder of the field is just going to have to watch and wait. And everyone follows back. Everyone appears to have gotten through the first few turns just fine. Let's watch the blimp cam and watch it from a wider angle. Everyone getting through clean and green thus far. Jacob Hom side by side. James McKee. McKee gets through. Caleb Morrissey already appears to be a lap down. Or, as a matter of fact, he might be starting from pit road. We're not sure. Winstead leads the way. Very wide angle here. You can see a good majority of the field. And as it stands, everyone is single file. The first minute of the race has already concluded. And the leader of Chad Winstead is already pulling just out of frame. And as it stands, Winstead is a very good margin, just about a second's worth over Roberto Ramirez now. And Winstead on a roll thus far, 1 minute into this 1 hour event. He's just got to keep it straight for an hour's time. It appears that is the goal for the driver of the 10 machine. He's put in an incredible effort in qualifying, usurped by Roberto Ramirez. But now in the race, looks to be the one to beat if he's able to keep it the same way he has throughout practice. He's leading lap number 1 by a second. We got one in the wall, back of the field, Dylan Petit. Let's get an instant replay on the matter. Petit just bit off a little more than he could chew coming off the final corner. He slaps it into the wall. That's your first incident of the night. Petit looks to be on his way already. Dylan Body now fighting side by side with Kendall Kerr for just a moment. James McKee going to fight as well. And Jason Harris gets in front. The teammates of Blacktop Racing, the 7 and the 9. Kerman in 8th appears to be just fine. Jason McKee just a little bit of a wiggle. We saw as Roberto Ramirez in 2nd trying to chase down Chad Winstead was a healthy 1 second advantage. Ramirez almost gets into the grass there. Brad Kress and Adam Bozzi both chasing. Bozzi leading the pack just behind the top 2 drivers. Brad Kress going to wait in the wings and see whether or not he has some time to make a move later on. And Winstead doing a great job as is. Leading by 1.5 seconds, 1.5 seconds as the race has just begun here. Ramirez not in sight, not in frame at all. For the driver, the 10 machine, time to worry about getting those laps in, lap out, time after time. Bozzi in 3rd, Brad Kress 4th, and Scott Wheeler is in 5th. Terry Brooks 6th, Zellner 7th, and the 8 machine is in 8th. Clint Swill in 9th, Jason Harris, then James McKee, Jacob Hahn, Kendall Kerr, Dylan Body, Garrett Sidnor, Dylan Petit, then Dalton Beer and Kenny Brooks, who's on pit road. Looks like we just had an incident. Caleb Morrissey is already retired from this event. And here's your incident. We're going to watch it just a little bit later back. Instant replay on the matter. Brooks sends it into the grass, into the gravel trap, and takes the wall there. A lot of damage, and it's going to be a hard one to escape. It looks like this is the reason that Kenny Brooks is on pit road, getting some service as is, 1 lap down. And the 54 rolls back onto track. And you can see one wheel is already destroyed. The axle is broken. Not much more that can be done. Looks like the 54 is going to be down and out on that note. Let's watch. Get back to the leaders as it looks like, wow. He just plowed into the gravel trap. Incident that I believe would not occur in real life. That was a very odd impact. But nonetheless, it is now Winstead by 1.7 over Roberto Ramirez, and Adam Bozzi is far behind. He's 2.2 seconds behind your race leader. Brad Kress in 4th, Scott Wheeler is on the loose, and we have a battle on our hands for the runner-up spot. Let's watch on board as Ramirez makes a very, very decisive defensive maneuver. And Brad Kress is going to take it over Adam Bozzi there. This is for 2nd. And Adam Bozzi around. Looks like that's going to be a bit of damage nonetheless. Losing an awful lot of position. Let's find out what happened. And it looks like this is going to happen without contact. Scott Wheeler did not get into the driver of the 27 machine at all. Looks like he cut it onto the grass just a bit, and you could see it with the rear tires. We're trying to get the angle again. And watch here. He just clips the grass, and that's going to send him into a spin. You got to be very careful with that on iRacing because any contact of the grass will send you spinning. And Bozzi down to 8th on that note. While he does avoid the wall, the Bearcat Motorsports machine in the Bearcat Motorsports Grand Prix is going to lose a lot of time, although luckily it is not a damaged machine at all. Now, the battle has thinned up just a bit, and Brad Kress is on the loose with Scott Wheeler and Terry Brooks just behind. Zellner in 6th, and then Alan Kuhlman with a 2.5 second deficit is in 7th, following this battle for 2nd overall. And every driver here, they are flying through the back. Although it looks like right now passing a little bit of a difficulty, although Scott Zellner is making some time up on Terry Brooks. Let's watch on board with Brooks. You see, Brooks has Zellner getting very close to him. It's a deficit between them now of just under half a second. And Zellner appears to be on rails. Although Brooks has that appearance as well, it's clear Scott is gaining time. Now he's sub 3/10 of a second. getting closer each and every time by. Although that time by, the 2 Machine, the freaky fast 2 Machine, gonna make a freaky entrance and doesn't pay off. Now, Brooks has the advantage. Closest battle on the racetrack, it appears to be Roberto Ramirez and Brad Kress. As Kress hardly being held off by the driver of the 42 Machine. It is a pack evenly spread out from 2nd all the way back to 6th. All of which possibly going to be able to take over that 2nd spot if any one of them fails to maneuver correctly. No way! He's going to keep it together there. Roberto Ramirez almost gets on the grass. Looks to be just a little bit wide, but Kress not able to keep up. And Chad Winstead has a 2.2 second advantage over the remainder of the field right now. Winstead is on his A game, and Roberto Ramirez is just waiting, hopefully going to have an opportunity for his sake. Battle not raging on just yet. And it is led by Winstead, but now Brad Kress facing the pressure from Scott Wheeler as Terry Brooks faces it from Scott Zellner. And these 5 guys are all the closest on the racetrack to one another. It looks like Brooks is 4 laps down and Dylan Body is 2 laps down. Let's try to find out what happened to the driver of the 26 Machine. Certainly an incident has occurred, and there it is. Looks to have happened just about 3 or 4 minutes ago. And it looks like Body gonna get into the grass and hits the tire barrier just at the end of the gravel track. And he tries to limp it out. But like Kenny Brooks' incident, I believe by that point the axle is destroyed on the left front tire. And it's going to be impossible to drive it. And that it is. Same incident as Kenny Brooks. Slightly different position. But it's going to end up with the same result. Body, 17th. Right now, 2 laps down, getting damage repaired. Kenny Brooks still is as well. Kendall Kerr losing a lot of position right now. He just spun. Let's find out what happened. Instant replay on the matter, and it looks like the driver of the 21 Machine went around, and yes, that is the case. Bit off a little more than what could be chewed there, and the 21 Machine goes around right in front of his teammate of James McKee. Backs it down, waits for every driver to go through cleanly, and on his way in 15th. And that was a very respectful move by the driver of the 21 Machine, last week's winner, not faring as well this time by. And nonetheless, Kendall Kerr looking for just a bit more. Scott Wheeler currently in 4th, looking for yet another podium finish on the season. He's only had 1 finish outside of the podium, and that was last week. Looking to not continue that streak because he's been so incredibly consistent all year. Any slip up, it means a lot. Ramirez defending on the inside line there, and he's going to keep it together as Brad Kress goes wide and Scott Wheeler's back on the offense. And you see Wheeler has a lot of momentum going down this miniature straightaway, and now it is Wheeler's game for the taking. Side by side, you can see from a wider angle that Wheeler's going to have to back off and try to make the crossover maneuver. And crossover maneuver, he does not removing the driver of the 29 Machine from his position. 49 minutes remain, and it's still a battle as intense as ever for the final podium place. Backing it down to the inside line. Wheeler does a better job of that than Brad Kress. Either way, a great job by both of these drivers, keeping it clean, keeping it green. We could have seen disaster on our hands. It looks like that is not the case, as these two fight each other fairly. That is great to see. Coming across the start finish line once again, entering their 8th lap of this race. And they're fighting as hard as ever. And it looks like Jacob Hom going to lose quite a few positions that time by. Going to try to find out what happened. We will see, because it looks like the driver of Jacob Hom is losing an awful lot of time, and there it is. Hom in the 76 Machine Pins it into the wall, and nothing could be done about it. And how about that for the driver of the 76 down in 15th? Chad Winstead still leading, and the remainder of the field is going to have to follow him. Ramirez is in second, Brad Kress in third, Scott Wheeler is in fourth, and Terry Brooks position number 5. Closest battle on the racetrack right now, the driver of the 29 machine and Scott Wheeler. Kress barely ahead of the driver of that 97 machine as it stands. As you can see, Wheeler using every single inch of the track. He's going to use the grass, and he still makes just a bit of ground. And how about that? Keeping it together, the driver of the 97 does. Wheeler still on the loose here. Going to be a lot of pressure for Brad Kress to hold on to it. As you watch as Scott Zellner is still fighting with Taylor Brooks just in front. The freaky fast number 2 machine works to the outside and goes back down to the inside, trying to diamond the corner, and nothing can be done about it. Every one of these drivers still working as hard as they can to keep it together here. Winstead, 9 laps through, still your race leader in dominating fashion, has led from the jump, although not the pole sitter here tonight. He's still doing very well. 46 minutes remaining for the driver of the 10 machine. And with Ramirez out in second, he's a second and a half back of a race leader in Winstead, but he's still half a second ahead of Brad Kress as he's using every inch of the track as well. And Brooks in 5th right now. He is just about 2 seconds back on the battle for the 5th position, as Alan Kuhlman is going to be in the battle with Brad Kress. Now Adam Bozzi as Kress is up into the 3rd spot. Alan Kuhlman making some waves here as he fights with Bozzi. And it looks like, as it stands now, just behind the driver of the 27, and Scott Wheeler is in 4th. Pretty far out of the battle for 3rd as it stands. And Caleb Morrissey saying, go Wheeler and Zellner. Greatly appreciated coming to the chat. MBLXL, John Herschel, thank you all for stopping by tonight. Greatly appreciated. And how about the drivers that Caleb Morrissey is picking following an incident with the 6 machine? And Caleb Morrissey saying someone parked the 6 for the season. A little bit of a troublesome start with these next gens. The first season, these guys are running the next gen, so it's a lot of trouble to keep it going. Mid-Ohio, a tricky track as well, a road course with a different format. The 2nd time race in Highline Racing history, with Wheeler at the moment in 4th and Zellner in the position number 6. Solid runs for both drivers at the stands. Still a lot more they're looking for that victory, but Chad Winstead still has the lead in mind, and he's not 2 seconds ahead anymore. Looks like Roberto Ramirez might just be gaining in on the driver of the 10. Kress gaining a lot of time there, gets a much better corner in the battle between these two. It rages on. How about we watch on board with Brad Kress once more? And you can see from Kress's perspective, getting awfully close to the driver, the 42, but also getting close to Chad Winstead. Winstead losing a lot of pace now. They're now within 1 second of the race leader. This could be time for Ramirez to reel him in and make an opportunity out of a mistake. If he's able to do so, he's going to change the perspective of the landscape of this race in its entirety. Winstead looking for win number 1 on the season and also in his Highline Racing career. Ramirez has several wins. He's a dominator at these road courses. And he's proving it today. He's gained a half second at the very least in this lap over our race leader. And putting in the performance of a lifetime, this lap at the very least, now it's under a second as Brad Kress goes to the outside. Not going to be able to make it happen, but he's still fighting hard with Ramirez. As they come across the start-finish line, they've both gained major time over the race leader of Winstead. They actually gained a total of 7/10 of a second. Let's watch on board from Ramirez now. Much different. That much closer. He is visible, and he can read the sponsors off the back of that car, but just barely. Now, just getting out of view as the iRacing blimp towers above the remainder of the field, watching. These guys are far from done fighting. Winstead's able to pull out a gap every single time we hit the straightaways, but through the turns, that's when it becomes tricky for the driver of the 10 machine. Just isn't able to keep it together anymore. And unlike the drivers behind him, including Ramirez and Kress, doesn't have the launch off to keep the pace. Adam Bozzi, 7th position as we speak. And it looks like he is gaining some time on Scott Zellner, but not enough. He's still 10 seconds back on Zellner in 6th. As now, Zellner has lost some time to Terry Brooks as he runs it just a bit wide. They're not going to be able to help his case. He loses 4/10 on just that lap alone, and just that sector alone as well. Not great for the driver of the 2. Scott Wheeler in front, still working pretty well, but Terry Brooks on a roll. We've got Jacob Holm coming into pit road right now. He is 2 laps down. Looks like he's going to miss his stop as well. It's Winstead on his way, still being chased by Ramirez and Brad Kress behind him. And James McKee fighting now with Alan Kunman. Looks to be a battle between teammates. Well, let's watch on board and see how it's going on. As they roll through the first corner, McKee gets a major advantage there over Alan Kunman. Gonna back off just a bit, it appears. Try and lunge it on the inside. Looks like he's gonna be able to do it there. James McKee gonna be able to take the spot from Kunman, but not for long if Kunman has anything to say about it. And that he might. Blacktop Racing, 9, 8, 7, and 8th, 9th, and 10th respectively. They're in the 3-car train. And we've got a lot of time to decide this battle, but McKee for now is the victor of it as they fight for 8th. And Jason Harris now in the mix as well. Let's see what he's got in store for the drivers just in front of him, which are both his teammates. McKee gonna go very wide at that time by, gonna cut him just a bit of time. And Harris gonna watch and wait. Adam Bozzi just in a frame for all 3 of these drivers. And surely they're gonna try to chase him down as he's an especially quick driver this track. And the incident he had early on has definitely set him off course. He is only in the 7th spot. He was in 2nd when the incident occurred. But now, he's fighting in the mid-pack. We now have 4 drivers off of the lead lap. The driver, who was the final driver, of course, on the lead lap, is Dalton Beer. And Dalton Beer is in jeopardy being lapped shortly. It appears that he is just a few seconds away from being lapped on pace. Dalton not having the best of nights thus far. We'll see whether or not he's able to reel it back together. And the 38 Planters machine is on his way as quick as he can be. But as you could see, Chad Winstead is just about a second or 2 away from lapping him as we are on to the second third of this race. 1/3 of it is over already. And Chad Winstead pushing to the limit to try to lap 1 driver on pace. That will leave us with the remaining 14 drivers on the lead lap. Dalton Beer going to be the first of which to go 1 down without an incident. And a very impressive push by Chad Winstead. He was down to a sub-second lead. He has doubled that lead, and now he is ahead by 2 seconds. Dalton Beer gonna let him by with ease. And it's gonna become an issue for the drivers behind him, Roberto Ramirez, who now has a stopgap in between the race leader and himself. And Roberto Ramirez is a great road course racer. It's been proven year in, year out, and it gets proven once again with these next gens. A new car in this series after years of running the Xfinity Series cars, and now these guys have to adapt to it. But one of the quickest drivers to adapt, who else but Roberto Ramirez, because he got it done in a dominating fashion at Sonoma, a track he is great at, over drivers who are also well experienced. We've got one who looks to be involved in an incident. It's Adam Bozzi once again. He's coming down pit road, actually. And Bozzi playing the alternative strategy game very early, trying to recover some positions he lost due to the incident early on in the race. Gonna send him down to 13th nonetheless. He's 38 seconds back in the leader. No jeopardy of being lapped. Very long road course here. Road courses are much harder to be lapped at on a pace without some sort of an incident or a very ill-handling car. So certainly, Chad Winstead not going to have a lot of opportunity to lap guys on pace unless they have damage or been lapped beforehand. Going to be a very hard challenge to do that. Garrett Sidnor next up if he does so. He's got just about 20 seconds of an advantage that he's got to cut through if he's going to make it up to Garrett Sidnor. It's Winstead now over Roberto Ramirez, and in third, it's Scott Wheeler Jr. Terry Brooks in fourth, and Brad Kress is in fifth as we race our way through this race. It is the Bearcat Motorsports Grand Prix, and Dalton Beer going to let him by once again on Brad Kress. Scott Zellner in sixth, James McGee in seventh. As this battle for the top two is getting just a bit spread out, Brad Kress looks to be one of the closer battles in this racetrack. Let's watch on more with Brad Kress. As you can see, he's getting closer and closer to Terry Brooks. Getting all the way up to the red line there on the fifth gear. Using it masterfully. Get even closer to Terry Brooks. It is a deficit now of only half a second. And now up to the back bumper of the driver of the 23 machine, looking to get that fourth position. Might be able to get through the very slow and technical final sector of the track. That time by, gonna get it side by side, and it goes to the driver of the 29 machine, Brad Kress. And Kress now leads over Terry Brooks in the battle for fourth. And great job there, as now Scott Wheeler has some pressure that he's placing on Roberto Ramirez. Let's check it out. And Ramirez gets right by the 54 machine of Brooks. And Scott Wheeler now on the loose, trying to chase down the driver of Roberto Ramirez. Going to be a hard task. Let's try to find some other battles on the racetrack and see whether or not they are as intense. Terry Brooks losing an awful lot of time right now, not able to keep up. So we have 35 minutes on the clock. Ramirez in second, but Chad Winstead still leading by a dominating margin. A great job for him. We have one on the grass there, and that is the driver of the 26 in Dylan Body. Let's find out what happened. And Body instant replay. We will get, let's see what happened once more. And if we send it half a minute back, the driver of the 26 machine sends it in. And from here, a very wide turn, gets it into the grass, and backs it in. And while he does not hit the wall, going to lose a lot of time. He's already 8 laps down, not much position he can lose. He is set to gain a position over Jacob Hamm for 16th if he just keeps on the track for 3 more laps. But not good for Body nonetheless. James McKee, 18 laps on the stint, and it looks like for just a moment he was on some especially quick pace. And not sure why that's the case. A lot of drivers appear to have some very quick pace during the early sector of the lap. Even though they're on 18 lap old sets, the leaders all on 18 lap old tires. Adam Bozzi in 12th, the first on a new set. He's 3 laps into his set of tire. Dylan Petit facing the pressure from Adam Bozzi, it appears. And there Bozzi is. Let's ride on board with the driver of the 27 machine for just a moment's notice. Let's see what's going on for Bozzi. And Bozzi is now, it appears, actually a few seconds back on Dylan Petit, and Dylan Petit now laying the pressure down on Clint Spillman. Let's check that out instead. As you can see how close Dylan Petit is to Clint Spillman right now. They are not side by side just yet, but it's going to be a matter of time before the lunge is placed on Clint Spillman. And from 11th to 10th, still fighting, going down the longest straightaway on the racetrack. And this is where any driver out front gets an advantage. Able to pull it away with earlier use of momentum. The turns are where it all comes back for the driver of the 31. Spillman going to go very wide there, using every bit of the track, and this is where the apex comes to its advantage. Coming into play for Dylan Petit, he's going to gain a lot of time. With 32 minutes remaining, he gets now within 0.5 of a second on Clint Spillman. And just in front, Jason Harris. By now, it appears 5 seconds over Clint Spillman as they have a lap car blocking both of them. And that's going to be Dalton Beer. Dalton Beer still racing these guys hard. And now Beer going to have Clint Spillman go around the outside line. And now Adam Bozzi, just behind Dylan Petit, might just have a few tenths of a second advantage over these two. As Clint Spillman gets the better of that battle for just a moment. And now it's Spillman's time to watch for the onboard shot. Let's see what he has. Jason McKee appears to have taken a wheel. He's only 3 seconds off the pace of his average lap, so it does not appear he went around. He has not lost any position, but he is losing a lot of time to Alan Kudman. He now only has just about a 6-second gap over his teammate. And you can hear every single shift coming out. The driver of the Ford Machine's gearbox getting all the way to the edge of the turn, using the apex just a bit better, learning from Petit from the rear view, it appears, as Adebazzi is now in frame for both of these guys. And it becomes a lot harder for a driver like Petit to get through a driver like Spillman, both of them in the mid-pack here, fighting with a lot of other drivers. Lead lappers are the guys trying to lap. When you're fighting with that many that many drivers overall, it's a lot more of a challenge to focus on one driver in particular. And both drivers running very, very similar lines for the most part. It becomes that much harder as Petit gets a major advantage using the inside as a sort of hugging zone. And now he's just without a car like there too between him and the 4 of Clint Spillman. Scott Wheeler now getting very, very close to Roberto Ramirez. This battle is just getting started. Halfway through this event, we are almost there, and the battle for second has just picked up for the first time tonight. And it looks like now Chad Winstead is within a second of Roberto Ramirez. Roberto Ramirez has clawed up by just about half the distance. And there he goes, backing it down to the inside line. Ramirez does, trying to defend on the wheelman of Scott Wheeler. And Chad Winstead holding on thus far for the lead. It's a 7/10 deficit, the shortest it's been all night long. Halfway, we have reached it. And it looks like Winstead's getting into the grass there. A little bit of a sloppier run. It's now within half a second for Roberto Ramirez, looking to take the lead once again and run away with this one if he gets out in front. And the JBL, number 42 for the first time tonight, using that JBL. Of course, for the first time all season, Roberto Ramirez uses a different sponsorship without it being a throwback or a sort of custom scheme for a themed event. But he's coming out in style here as Ramirez having a very good run. He's in second, looking for one more position to cap off an incredible night of racing for him. Getting the pole and winning from the pole will mean that much more to the driver, the 42. He's in second right now, but certainly has the potential to get one more position and cap off a great night of action. 20 minutes remaining, and now the top 3 guys are separated by 1 second. Ramirez appears to be the fastest, of which last time by he was faster than Chad Winstead by half a second's worth. And last time by, Scott Wheeler was only 3/100ths of a second slower than Ramirez through the lap. This time the advantage for Ramirez is going to shrink. Winstead is just slower, but he's not slower by much. Looks like Winstead gonna hold on that time by. Even still, the gap is 7/10ths of a second, the shortest it's been lap after lap all race long. We saw some moments where Winstead only had about a 9/10 of a second lead, but he's now had an under 9/10 of a second lead for more than a lap and a half. And we're hearing 2 full laps where Winstead is in danger of being passed by Ramirez and Wheeler. Looks like now I'm going to gain some time once again. Turning the Jets back on, it appears. Saving some tire for just a moment and going back at it. As Ramirez now a 1.5 back. And not sure how he's able to do it. Chad Winstead has this certain method, it appears, being made in real time. He's now second ahead of where he was last lap by over these 2 drivers. And that's a very impressive maneuver by Winstead, as he was a half second away from Ramirez, and now he's a 1.5 away and gaining. And Scott Zellner is going to get by Terry Brooks. Brooks is going to spin it right on the screen. Look at the 23 machine go there, and it looks like he's going to be able to back it down. Only loses 1 spot. We'll find out what just happened, getting an instant replay on the battle. And we did miss the pass, but we did see the incident that followed it. And Zellner on the chase. And it looks like he's actually going to make contact there with the late braking zone. Terry Brooks sent into the grass. And he's going to spin it around. Only loses 1 spot. But he's losing the padding ad to James McKee big time. Now McKee's within 11 seconds of Brooks for the first time in quite some time. And the service and supply number 23 machine going to lose a lot of time. Perhaps some damage on the rear end following that tap. As it stands, he is 6 seconds back on Zellner. Jason Harris and Alan Kumman still fighting. They're separated by 0.6 of a second. With 26 minutes remaining, these two are still fighting nonetheless. James McKee is ahead, but now he's ahead by quite a while. 23 laps. They have all stayed on the original set of tire. As Dylan Petit going to lose just a bit of time. He goes through the grass. And he keeps it going. And we're going to get an instant replay on that as well. Petit just appeared to have ran it over by just a bit. Tries to get back on the track, and that he does. Does not gain or lose a position. And that will be considered a legal move. As Roberto Ramirez is going to lose a whole lot of time. Let's get an instant replay on the matter. He's down into 4th now. He overshoots the corner, gets some contact. This is going to be detrimental to his winning chances. Ramirez from 2nd in the catbird seat is in 4th with front end damage. We're going to try to find out if he's able to fight with Brad Kress now. As Kress is still just about a second ahead. But it's now Scott Wheeler in the 2nd spot. For the first time all night long. Wheeler in the catbird seat. He's in the podium places by a wide margin and does not appear to be in jeopardy of losing just that. Stadium Scene TV, if you're watching on there, we greatly appreciate it, as well as watching anywhere on the Fireball Talks NASCAR YouTube channel. All the support is greatly appreciated, and the recent wave of support is always kept note upon. And every bit, every like, every subscription, every chat, every comment, we love to see it, and we hope you enjoy the channel no matter what we are bringing to you week after week. Stadium Scene TV, proud partner of Fireball Talks NASCAR. Scott Wheeler in 2nd, as Ramirez is losing an awful lot of time. Looks to have been involved in yet another incident, or no, he's coming down on pit road to fix the damage. Perhaps engage in an alternate strategy with 24 minutes remaining. We'll see whether or not it works in his favor. And with Winstead leading by a second, it's Mustang on Mustang. Scott Wheeler has entered the fight for the first time all season in a road course. And he had a great run at Sonoma for his pacing. He kept it in the top 5 for the majority of the race, not of course on the same level as Roberto Ramirez or Brad Kress. But nonetheless, a consistent run then. And looking for one better this time by. What's better than consistency? Victory. No matter how you get it, it's not about where you start, it's about where you finish. And Wheeler is emblematic of just that. Did not start in the front row. Did not start close enough to be considered a factor early on, but he has worked his way back up. And now the deficit is under a second. It's a second flat. 9/10 of a second. We'll see whether or not Chad Winstead has what it takes to turn it back on again. Because it appears he has the ability to turn it on and off whenever he pleases. Roberto Ramirez 21 seconds down. That's going to put him in 6th, 2 seconds ahead of James McKee. And the cold tires are slipping away from him there, as he loses a lot of time to McKee's very worn-in tires. And the lap times are not too much different. Chad Winstead's best lap time on the night, 7/10 quicker than the lap he just set this time by. So it's really not too much of a difference on tire. Just getting that damage repaired means a lot. Terry Brooks coming down pit road. Alternate strategies are in session. It's 22 minutes to go. You know what that means. It is the TrackCams22.com. Crank it up with 22 minutes left. TrackCams Performance, best cameras on iRacing. If you want to use them, link is in the description. We hope you support their product. It's absolutely worth it. Let's crank it up. And 19 minutes and 55 seconds on the charts now, and it looks to have been a race on cruise control for Chad Winstead. Still leading far and away with 1.5 seconds now over Scott Wheeler. He is gaining some time lap after lap, and it looks like a lot of these drivers are now coming down onto pit road. Roberto Ramirez has cycled back up into 4th. He's got a 3-lap old set of tires, and he's 33 seconds away from your race leader, but he is absolutely faster, and it looks like the damage has not played too much into his strategy. Top 3 guys might have to consider now whether or not they come into pit road. It might just be needed. It might just be an option that's nice to have, but as it stands, Chad Winstead now is 2 seconds ahead of the remainder of the field. A great job by the driver of that number 10 machine, as Scott Wheeler losing a little bit of time. And it looks like Scott Zellner now fighting with Roberto Ramirez just behind the driver of the 42 machine. You might have seen him to crank it up there. He was just exiting pit road, and it looks like Ramirez is going to send it right into the grass and send it into the tire barrier as well. Not a good start, and it's gotten just a bit worse. Let's get an instant replay on the matter. And that's going to be detrimental, and it might be the final blow to his winning chances for certain. And let's watch with Ramirez now, as he went right up the hill as an emergency route, and it looks like he just cut loose and tried to send it up as a last bow, knowing it wouldn't make the turn, so he tries to switch it back over. Well, it looks like it works for just a moment. It actually had him as a purple sector for just a little bit. He's going to hop over that curb, and that sends him right into the tire barrier, and that's going to be absolutely the race ender. Ramirez's damage might just be too much to compete for any high up position. And with 4 lap old tires, it looks like he just got shook by the colder temperatures. Scott Zellner, now 35 seconds away from your race leader. He is leading the charge on new tires. Going to be up to him to keep that charge going and perhaps take the win on different strategy. 17 minutes remain. Not a lot of time to find out who has the best strategy and who has the worst strategy here. The leaders appear to be on the same old, as Scott Wheeler's now half a second away from the 10 machine. Things are changing here, and Wheeler's now back in the mix. With Wheeler now in this one, it's going to be a 2-car fight for the victory, but it's an on and off race by Chad Winstead and an unbelievable ability to save the tire and go right back at it whenever he needs it. It almost seems unrealistic for Chad Winstead to be able to do just that, but he's using it to his advantage time and time once more. And now he's going to have an over second advantage. His lead has fluctuated, and it looks like it fluctuates at will. Winstead's making a great run of things time and time again. You can see why he's out front, but sometimes it just seems like he's going to lose the lead, but he keeps it just simply by knowing when to put it all out 100%. Takes a lot for a driver to understand when and when you don't need to be at the limit. And right now, Winstead capable of pushing when it's necessary, and capable of holding back when it's not. If you enjoyed the presentation, be sure to like and subscribe. It is always greatly appreciated. In this 1-hour event at Mid-Ohio, a lot of great racing we have seen, and Chad Winstead certainly putting on a show of his own as Dylan Petit coming down onto pit road and actually exiting pit road as we speak. Going to come out just in front of Alan Kudman. Kudman not going to be able to get to him on his out lap. 0.7 of a second. The closest battle on the racetrack is the battle between the drivers. Out front, Dalton Beer is going to have an incident. We're going to get an instant replay on the matter, try to find out what happened. Beer in the 38 machine, now up into 15th, 2 laps down. We saw him get lapped by the leader earlier on into the stint. And Beer is going to dive it into the corner there. And it looks like he just got a little bit too much there, over-revved it, and you can hear when it was just about unstable. Gets it back out and underway. The car is still going, but he's going to come down pit road nonetheless. Dylan Petit on his way into Violet Defense 31. As Kendall Kerr has made it over James McKee. McKee has actually taken it off the racetrack. We're going to try to find out what happened there. James McKee, in now 11th position, has gone off of the track. And it looks like it just might have been a little bit too much, sending it into one corner. And as we wait to find out, that looks to be just got onto the grass a bit, and a crucial mistake made again. James McKee in the SB Designs number 9 machine. Gonna slide back onto the track. He's got a second advantage over Dylan Petit. Race is not over, but he's losing a lot of time as we speak. And now, coming off of pit road, Dylan Petit has a great chance to gain a position early into his run, and that's going to mean a lot for his strategy. Perhaps put him in the running for a top 10 if someone wrecks just in front. And It's a 0.5 of a second difference as the Petit's going to blow those cones to the wind. And no care for them as he slides down to the inside line once more. 13 minutes to decide this race. 32 laps through for our leader of Chad Winstead, who's led every single one thus far. He's got a second advantage over Scott Wheeler Jr. And let's ride on board with Petit. And you can see the rear view camera showing a very, very vivid image of what's behind. What's in front? It's the driver of the 9 machine, McKee, and that's all that Petit can think about. As James McKee gonna slide it once again, loses a lot of momentum. As Jason Harris losing a lot of time right now. Looks like Harris is coming down on pit road. Just a quick update as Alan Kunman looks to be on his way, joining the battle shortly as Petit gets a little bit squirrely. Ramirez back on pit road as well. And the 42's day has gone from bad to worse. That's not on pit road. That's on the racetrack. Another incident for the driver of the 42 machine. This one's really bad. Coming out of the final section, and it looks like it's going to go from bad to worse. And it looks like gets squirrely, gets on the grass, and gets into the wall there. Everyone's going to be able to avoid it. And Ramirez is now one lap down from his highest second. The pole sitter not doing too well in the race. He backs it out, and it looks like waiting for an opportunity to spin it around. Takes him an awful lot of time to. Brad Kress is your new race leader, and that is not on strategy. We do have a pass for the lead. Let's try to find out what had happened. And it looks like Alan Kunman was involved in that pass. We're watching as Brad Kress was in third in this battle. They all file through the driver, the 42 Ramirez, and this is how it happened. Kress leading by 0.2 of a second now. The roll bar camera, and you can see picks off one and makes a dive and picks off two. What a move by Brad Kress. He's your new race leader on that note. And that's an incredibly impressive job by Brad Kress to send it not only just deep enough, but without any contact. He played it fair, and Alan Kunman definitely helped him on that one. The Blacktop Racing driver of Alan Kunman now behind the remainder of the field, and the 29 out in front. And after a race of domination, Chad Winstead is 0.8 of a second back on your new race leader. And there's not much he can do now but watch and potentially wait for an incident. It was a great procedure for Winstead all race long. Ramirez out of the picture for so long, and Scott Wheeler appeared to be someone he could just get rid of on the moment's notice if he just turned it up 100%. Now, he's got Wheeler on his back, and they're side by side, Terry Brooks and Anabazi. Brooks gets the better of Ozzy, as Scott Wheeler trying to get the better of Chad Winstead. In this time they're side by side for the first time all race. Winstead looks to be losing the magic he had for 50 minutes of action. And what a show put on by these guys, and now it's Wheeler fighting to try to get past Winstead. Scott Wheeler had a moment's notice to react to Brad Kress's decision. Keeps it straight, keeps it clean. No late knee-jerk defensive maneuver. And no impulse reaction, as it looks like all three drivers coming down pit road. 10 minutes remaining. This is the race off of pit road for the leading drivers. And this is when it all counts. Let's see who has what it takes to get off of pit road first. Kress out in front. One of the highest pit stalls. Chad Winstead getting the second highest pit stall. And Scott Wheeler in the middle of pit row. That's not going to help him. But it looks like he's already out first. It's going to be Winstead out first. Then Wheeler. And Brad Kress going to be losing a lot of time there. This might just be the end of his winning chances after such a great maneuver. Chad Winstead's back out in front. The magic has returned. It ain't over till it's over. It's Ford on Ford for the victory. And they still lead the race over Scott Zellner, who was not able to catch him. That is for certain. And it's going to be a stint of just about 7 laps on these tires. The final set of tires for every one of these drivers, including Chad Winstead and Scott Wheeler. Wheeler gets a better stop than Winstead, but he's still 0.6 of a second out of the race lead. And with 8 minutes left, you gotta think, you gotta make your move now or you're never gonna be able to make it. And for a driver like Scott Wheeler, he knows how to make moves in clutch moments. He's done it before, and he will certainly be able to do it again, so long as he makes his move whenever he knows it's possible. And slowly rolling, the driver, the 97 is. But as it stands, Chad Winstead only 0.7 of a second ahead. And as they go through the slowest section of the racetrack, slowly rolling doesn't mean all too much. The battle for the lead is at its most intense. Brad Kress gets into an incident. Looks like he's losing a lot of time. Instant replay on the matter because he just lost that much more. He's down to the 4th. Zellner into 2nd. And now back down to 3rd. And Brad Kress sends it into the gravel trap, and when you send it into the trap, you are done for. He's able to rotate it effectively, but still going to lose an awful lot of time. And gets back out on his way and lets Scott Zellner by him. And now it's a battle between Zellner, Wheeler, and Winstead, with Zellner being 11 seconds back, the fringe contender for the victory. Chad Winstead back in the lead. Clint Spillman going to lose a little bit of time, and it looks like something has happened to the driver of that number 4 machine. Let's try to find out. He's losing just a bit of time. Might have been an incident, might not have been, and it is not an incident. He has gone down pit road. James McKee back in 8th. Kendall Kerr, following several incidents, is in 7th. Bozzy in 6th. Terry Brooks in 5th. Brad Kress in 4th. And Scott Zellner in 3rd, with Scott Wheeler and Chad Winstead separated by half a second now for the race lead. This is the closest that Scott Wheeler has been all night long. He's drifting it. He keeps it straight, but the battle is not won yet. 6 minutes remain to decide it here in Mid-Ohio. The deciding factor truly will come down to which one of these guys is able to make the move at the right time. Wheeler and both of the drivers in the Ford Mustangs, Wheeler and the driver of Chad Winstead, both saw as Brad Kress made an incredible move down the inside line to get that race lead. It was clutch. He had the speed to keep it going, but that pit stop, it was the costliest pit stop of the season, and Kress is down to 6th. Now, Winstead, looking for the victory, is going to watch and wait as Scott Wheeler continues to fight him for what might just be yet another victory in the Scott Wheeler season that has been so dominant. And so far through into the season, 7 races deep. Wheeler making a great points run, looking for just a bit more on the year. One more victory will mean the world, even though he has the most of any driver in this season, the first season, with these next-gen cars. The king of the next-gens being the driver in the catbird seat. It's a bit of a change, but Chad Winstead seems to be used to it. He's driving the race of his life with no stopping, no caution. It's just all or nothing, and Chad Winstead balancing all or nothing like he does it every single day. He's had a great season so far, not able to capitalize on the results, but he's been a solid top 5, top 3 driver week in, week out, no matter what. And when the time comes, he's going to get that first victory, whether it is today or whether it is in the near future. You can't count Wheeler out, but right now, Winstead is looking great as Adam Bozzy is fighting with Terry Brooks. Bozzy getting really close now. Brooks has lost a few spots due to incidents beforehand. We saw what happened with Scott Zellner. Zellner's up into 3rd, and Brooks is in 4th, trying not to lose that many more spots because that incident with Zellner certainly might have cost him some confidence, but it's also cost him some tire life, and tire life means an awful lot as the race goes on. 4 minutes and 29 seconds remain here in Mid-Ohio. Brad Kress still in the mix here as well. Don't count him out as Scott Wheeler appears to not be connected to the race right now. And not sure if that is a timing and scoring error. We are not getting him back. It's been 10 seconds. And he's fading back according to timing and scoring, but that's not the case. He's 1.4 seconds off of the lead. It's a 3-car battle here for the 4th spot. And Adam Bossie's in the middle of it. Down to the inside line. Adam Bossie goes. And nothing. Terry Brooks driving defensively, holding off not one but 2 drivers who are trying to pass him at once. And one mistake's gonna lose him 2 positions. He has not made that one mistake just yet. With this little time on the track, it's gonna be all or nothing for every one of these drivers. Terry Brooks included, of course. And a lot of time remaining for a driver like Brooks, a driver like Bossie, and a driver like Brad Kress. These 3 fighting single file right now, but it's an especially intense battle as we continue the battle on. Brad Kress is going to go almost around. He's going to be able to save it there. Let's get an instant replay on the matter. And checking it out once more. Kress trying to fight back, gets onto the curb, and when you get on the curb, you might just get the grass. And that's what happened. Keeps it straight, but he's going to lose a lot of time. Now, it's Bossie and Brooks. And let's ride on board with Adam Bossie one last time with 2 minutes remaining on the clock. And the nose camera, as you can see, coming down the longest section of this track, the straightaway. Backing it down to the inside line. And it's going to be the S's, the inclined S's. As Terry Brooks loses a lot of time, squirrely just a bit. The Services and Supply Incorporated machine having a little bit of trouble keeping it together. Right through there. And Bossie gets a little bit of a better run off the apex. But now a monster exit for Terry Brooks. Chad Winstead still your race leader. This is the closest battle on the racetrack, and we are watching it intently. It's the battle for position number 4. Lap 40 of 41. It appears we're coming to the white flag next time by. As Bossie still waits to see if he has a chance to fight with Terry Brooks. They come down to the inside line there, not using the curb. Of course, not a track, not necessarily a section of the track you can use. But nonetheless, nobody trying that to their advantage. Too big of a risk, too little of a reward. As they slide through once more. A little bit of clipping there for the driver of the 23. A peculiar glitch for the driver of the 23 machine. It looks like his rear end is exposed just slightly. Might just be some damage crushing it in. No, the driver appearing to have that. As less than a minute remains, Scott Wheeler is on some record-setting pace, trying to catch the driver, Chad Winstead. And Winstead coming across the stripe once again. We will have a lap extension. He's quick enough to get it. And 43 seconds on the clock before we get to the last lap of the race. Next flag will end it. Next lap will end it as well. And Dalton Beer going to get in the way there of Scott Wheeler by just a bit of a maneuver. And Wheeler not happy with that, but not going to cost him all too much. And he's going to have to make a move or to the outside line, cutting off his own momentum. 16 seconds. But that's not when the race ends. It's going to come down to one extra lap to determine the victor of this one overall. 4 seconds on the clock, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, and 1 lap left. Final lap for Chad Winstead. And just has to navigate these turns to get it done in style. He's been looking for this one throughout the entire season. A series of consistent performances. Sometimes not able to pull it off at the end, sometimes not pulling it off at the beginning. But he has turned a new leaf. This race almost got the pole, but the most consistent driver leading almost every single lap. Coming to the stripe, the Bearcat Motorsports Grand Prix. It's going to be won by Chad Winstead. First win on the season for the 10 machine. Scott Wheeler second, Scott Zellner third, and the battle between Brooks and Bossie looks to be won by Bossie if he keeps it the way he has thus far. Still a few turns to determine. And Adam Bozzi coming out of the final few turns. Gonna have a lunge by Brooks. The final lunge that can be made. In no contact, no determining factor. Bozzi's gonna get it for 4th. And Brooks settles for 5th. Brad Karras is in 6th. And Ken Kerr comes around 7th. Chad Winstead, congratulated by Scott Wheeler, wins it in style. And what a performance put up by the driver of the 10 machine in Chad Winstead. An awesome job. And he gets it done in quite the great fashion. And a quick intermission, as we will be getting to interviews shortly, just making sure we can do just that effectively, the best viewing experience possible, and we have made sure of just that. Interviews will begin shortly. Chad Winstead getting it done for Queen City Racing. And Jason Harris in the voice chat with them as well. And it looks like the burnout ceremony has just begun. Bozzi coming to congratulate his teammate, the number 27 machine. Trying to do a dual burnout here to celebrate this incredible victory in Mid-Ohio. Although it appears double burnout, it will not be. No movement for the driver of the 10 machine. Will do the engine to rev once more. And that appears to be it for just now. The driver of Chad Winstead getting it done. And this has absolutely been a moment he's been waiting for all season. Domination tonight. Chad Winstead, how you feeling?
Ooh, I'm tired, man. Tired and sweaty.
Well, how about that? What a race you put on, and how you feeling after getting it done? An hour's performance, and looks like nobody was on your level tonight.
Yeah, man, it feels great to finally get the monkey off my back, man. It's I felt like the first race of the season, I was going to pull it off there at the end, and kind of gotten involved in a wreck, and just spent some bad luck here and there, and just feels so good to finally get in victory lane for once.
And absolutely, you had the speed from the practice. Anything in particular that made Mid-Ohio a track that you seem to mesh with, and it's been working throughout this entire session?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I've always enjoyed road courses, and especially in these cars, I didn't have quite the results at Sonoma that I wanted. And ironically enough, I have never ran at Mid-Ohio until yesterday when we were practicing for this race. So I was a little surprised that I had the speed that I did with such little practice on this track. But I don't know. I really like the technicality, the little bit of elevation changes here and there, and it's just a really fun track for me.
And absolutely a really fun track for you. Proves to be one of your best. Getting the victory here tonight. Did strategy come into the equation? Because it looks like that final pit stop set you up for the remainder of the race very well.
Yeah, so definitely was going to take fuel only there, and just kind of had to do a quick calculation in my head coming down pit road of how much fuel I needed. So I got as little as I could. I think I got about a gallon left in the tank right now. But Brad made a heck of a move on the inside there as I was caught up behind the lap traffic. I kept getting squirrely behind the lap traffic. It's such a hard place to pass, come to find out, that couldn't get around anybody. And when he made that move, I was like, man, I'm not going to get back around him. So I knew I had to take as little fuel as possible and try and send it into pit road.
And that is exactly what you did, getting it done here. How are you feeling as the remainder of the season is ahead of you? Looking forward to the final third of this season and perhaps looking to rack off a few more victories?
Man, I hope so, because I was a little upset where I was sitting in the points so far. I felt like I ran a lot better than what the points show for. Just had some unfortunate incidents at the end of a couple of races and some bad luck here and there. So I'm hoping that this is going to turn my season around here at the end, and maybe we can rattle off a couple more and get back in the fight for the chip.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts before we leave this one off?
No final thoughts, really. Just want to thank Kendall Kerr for inviting me to this league last season, and thanks to my wife for supporting me and watching the broadcast and cheering me on, and all my friends and family out there that's watching as well. So thank you to everybody out there.
Absolutely. Once again, thank you for your time. Winning for the first time this season is Chad Winstead.
Thank you.
And there we have it, the driver of the 10 machine, not the 20 machine, going to drag him into the Queen City Racing voice chat. And we've just got a chat saying that is Queen City Racing's first win, and what an awesome night for them it has been. And now we're going to get the 97 machine. Scott Wheeler, second place on the night. How are you feeling after that one?
Pretty good. I think I could have contested for the win a little bit harder had I run a little cleaner after the pit stops, but good points night after last week. That was kind of a nightmare situation, so we'll take a second place.
And absolutely a bounce back night from last week, second, and it looks like strategy must have played a factor there. And it was a 6-lap dash to the end between you and Chad Winstead. It looks like at some points you were within half a second. Is there anything that just set you two apart in terms of strategy?
I think we were on the same strategy for the most part. Obviously, Chad was, the class of the field. He led practically every lap except for maybe 2. So it was more of who could run the cleanest laps, and I had a bad lap, and then we ended up running, I think, 127 fours together the whole way. So probably not much I could have done there, even if I had got to them or to him. It's really hard to pass. So good job to him. Just a good race. I'm just glad to have made it through.
And absolutely making it through, and it looks like at the end of the day you're going to be one of the highest positioned drivers, of course, in this race, and you're going to solidify that championship lead once again following Bristol. A nice bounce back week, and we've got the final third of this season coming up in front of us. How are you feeling going into that?
I feel pretty good. I'm trying to scroll through the schedule right now. I know we're going to North Wilkesboro next week, I think. But beyond that, we've got some really good tracks. New Hampshire, I always enjoy. Iowa, Homestead's going to be really fun to end it all, and Atlanta will still kind of be that wild card. So just staying consistent. I think next week is another one of those deals. Just make it through the heat races, try to finish well, and just keep building.
Absolutely building on an especially solid foundation. Back in the podium places, it's Scott Wheeler yet again putting together an incredible performance. Second position, runner-up on the night. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. You guys do a great job every week. Just want to thank my teammates, Caleb, Scott, Austin. Austin's not feeling the greatest tonight, so hope you're feeling better, buddy. And then everybody that just runs in the league. It's we've had great races all season, so looking forward to the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Once again, Scott Wheeler, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And now we're getting on to our third position driver of Scott Zellner, the 4 Horsemen Racing, and 2 of which appear to be in the podium places. And Scott Zellner, you get it done at the end of it, and it looks like it fell your way in terms of getting into the podium places. How are you feeling after that?
I feel all right. I definitely wasn't prepared for the racetrack in the first half of the race, but I felt like in the second half, car kind of came to me. Didn't take any tires on that pit stop. And it actually seemed like the little bit of wear on the tires actually helped it keep some grip in the racetrack. And I feel okay. Not super pleased, but not super disappointed.
And absolutely getting into the podium places nonetheless. A bit of a longer stint compared to a few of these guys on alternate strategies. It looks like You got a much shorter stint than that of Adam Bossie, who was in 4th position at the tail end of it. And it looks like some guys behind you were on shorter stints. How was it like with the 14-lap-old stint? It appears that was the middle ground for most of these guys.
Yeah, I just, well, honestly, I just tried to do something different. And as soon as I saw the people behind me pit, I knew I had a gap, and just wanted to keep clean track in front of me. Yeah, and like I said, I feel like the longer second stint was the way to go because I felt like the car felt a little bit better. Could have also been driver error in the first half, though. So, yeah, we'll take a 3rd place and we'll get the hell out of Ohio.
In 3rd place here in Ohio, and we got the remainder of the season ahead of us. A few races remain before we crown ourselves a champion, and we're going to crown ourselves a few more race winners. Are you anticipating perhaps getting yet another victory on the season?
I hope so. That's why we're all here, isn't it? Hoping that North Wilkesboro is not going to be my favorite track next week, but I think we run Iowa and Homestead to finish out the season. Iowa is probably my best chance, and going to come bring the A game.
And looking forward to that. Scott Zellner rounding out the podium places here tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Just want to thank my teammates real quick. 4 Horsemen, Scott did an excellent job tonight. Congratulations to Chad on the first win. And we do want to send an apology to Terry Brooks. I got into him on lap 23. Kind of a racing deal, but I just don't want to be driving like that.
And absolutely, once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And there we have it. That is going to be your podium procedure for the night. And now we're going to wrap it up with your race review and the recap with your race results. And that was a 1-hour showdown. It looks like Chad Winstead got it done in dominating fashion. He led all but just about 2 laps, and that's going to put him at about a tally of 39 led laps. A very impressive job, and nobody was on his level tonight. How about it? Now we're going to go through your race results. Chad Winstead winning it over Scott Wheeler, and then Scott Zillner in the 3rd position, followed by Adam Bossie, Terry Brooks, Brad Kress, Kendall Kerr, James McKee, and Dylan Petit in 9th. Then Clint Spillman in the 10th position rounds out the top 10, with Alan Koopman in 11th, Garrett Sidnor, and Jason Harris being the final driver on the lead lap. Your pole sitter Roberto Ramirez was in the 14th position at the tail end of it. Dalton Beer finishes in 15th, with Dylan Body, Kenny Brooks, Jacob Holm, and Caleb Morrissey all being retirees 15th through 19th. They were not able to finish this one, unfortunately, and that rounds out your field for the night. We hope you enjoyed this presentation. What a race we had here at Mid-Ohio. At the end of the day, the driver of the 10 machine was able to get it done. Chad Winstead, your race winner. And that was your Bearcat Motorsports Grand Prix at Mid-Ohio, and what a race it was. We'll be back next week with North Wilkesboro and the Highline Racing League, and of course, we'll be back in the Iora Cup Series just an hour and a half beforehand with the Bristol pavement event this time by. And we hope you enjoy it. Bristol, always a special track on the Iora circuit. Thursday night, stacked here on the Fireball Talks NASCAR YouTube channel, and we hope you stick around for both streams week in, week out. We'll be back next on Wednesday, though, with the F4L Cup Series at Kansas. That's going to be one you're not going to want to miss. Thank you all for your time, and we hope you have a great night. Thank you all for watching the presentations we've had for this one.